Good morning, mathematicians. This is lesson 15. We are thinking about finding missing side lengths. This cooldown is titled The Area of the Garden. The area of a rectangular garden is 832 square feet and its length is 16 feet. What is its width? Well, we know that area equals length times width. If I know the entire the entire area is 832 square feet, I know that the length is 16, but I am questioning what the width is. We know that we need to divide, right? So if I take 832 and I divide it by 16, I will find out what the width of the garden is, which is certainly the task in this lesson 15. Let's utilize our partial quotients to solve this problem as we have been practicing. Inside my division box, I'm going to write my dividend, which is 832. Outside my division box, I'm going to write my divisor, which is 16. Now, I love to write a little running record, and I'm going to do that underneath where I wrote out our ideas behind the area formula. So I know, of course, that 16 times 1, of course, equals 16. Because I know that, I also know that 16 times 10 is going to give us 160. Okay, we know that. Let's do 16 times 2. Now, 16 times 2 is going to give us an answer of what? That's going to be 32. Since I know that, I also know that 16 times 20 would give us an answer of 320. That might be helpful looking at this particular quotient, but I want to go a little bit higher. I'm going to bump all the way up and go to 16 times 4 and see if I get a good idea for a good starting place. I'm going to come to the bottom and do this math scratch work. We have 6 times 4, which is 24. Here's my 4. Carry my 2. 4 times 1, which is 4 plus 2, is 6. So I know that 16 times 4 is 64. Now, if I know that is true, I also know that 16 times 40 is going to be 640. Now, that gives me a good starting place because 640 is close to using all 832, certainly without going over. That might be a good place for us to start. So I'm going to start with 40 groups of 16, which is going to use up 640 of my dividend. Now I have 2 minus 0 is 2, and 3 minus 4 I can't do, so I'm going to borrow from the set 8, make it a 7, and this is now a 13. 13 minus 4 is 9, and 7 minus 6 is 1. So now I have 192 as my new dividend. Now, certainly when I take a look at this jumps out at me. What about if I take 10 groups of 16 at this moment? 10 groups of 16 is going to be 160. That's another good chunk that I can take away without going over. So I have 2 minus 0 is 2, 9 minus 6 is 3, and 1 minus 1 is 0. I still have 32 as my dividend, and I remember that fact from my brainstorm. 16 times 2 is exactly 32. So I'm going to have 2 groups of 16. That's going to utilize all of the dividend that I have remaining, and I'll have no remainder. So my answer here is 40 plus 10 plus 2, which is, of course, 52. So my answer here is 52. But let's take it back to the idea of our rectangular garden. What does that 52 actually represent? Remember, boys and girls, if your question has words and context, then your answer must have words and context as well. We are mathematicians, always relating it back to the words and the context that we were given. The rectangular garden has a what of 52? It has a width of 52 what? We're going to write that it's 52 feet. Okay, notice it's a very simple sentence, but it is a sentence that tells us what that 52 means in context to the question that we were asked. And that does finish up our lesson 15 cool down.